Hi, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Thursday, January 11th, 2018, and you're watching WGAN-TV live at 5. Super excited today. We have a panel for the We Get Around, the WGAN-TV Matterport MatterPak Roundtable. And joining us are from left to right, Simone Williams in the forum. She is German girl, spelled G-R-M-G-R-L, from Bloomington, Illinois. And then to her right, Danny Basten. Danny is, you've probably seen many posts from him. Danny Basten is his actual name in the forum. Also the founder of InventiveCG, does a lot of work with the Matterport object file and data. Visiting with us today from a bed and breakfast in Spain, but actually based in the Netherlands. And then Jorge Fantin in the forum, JFANTIN, visiting with us from Buenos Aires. I want to say a college professor and run a business, a Matterport service provider and Google Street View business in Buenos Aires.
Exactly. Hi, everybody.
Great. So it's good to see you all. I think we have 3 continents and 4 people, and there may be some other folks popping in as we go. So today's topic about kind of MatterPak, I thought what I would do is kind of start out first describing the news that we learned earlier this week from Matterport. And then I'd like to, I think, turn to Danny and say, Danny, what are each of these things and how do you use them? And then have a kind of a discussion on it. Does that sound okay?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so on Monday of this week, Matterport sent out a newsletter introducing the MatterPak bundle for all your 3D commercial assets. Beginning 2 weeks from today, January 25th, 2018, Matterport will launch the MatterPak bundle, a comprehensive package of all your 3D commercial assets, including the object file, the colorized point cloud, reflective ceiling plan images, which you will now be able to download immediately with one click. And so that click is now the Buy Matterport bundle for $49. So it includes the following things. And Danny, I'd just like to go through each one and just ask you, what is it and how do you use it? The first is a colorized point cloud, a .xyz file.
Yeah, that's well, what the name implies. It's a point cloud file. It's used in CAD files. Architects use it in AutoCAD, ArchiCAD, also different kind of CAD services, softwares. And you can use it as an underlayment to create your own geometry. You can measure in it. I think the first post that I actually posted on the forum,
on the We Get Around Network Forum.
Yeah, that has a picture in it from an example that I used.
Mm-hmm. So
I can link it.
Yeah, and give us a little background about what you do, so we have some context of how and why you understand what these different files are.
Give me a second. I'm looking at the actual post.
Okay. While he's looking, Danny is the founder of InventiveCG, and he actually takes advantage of the data, and we would call him a third-party service provider, and creates magic with it. So I thought it would just be a little bit helpful to go through each of those things. So Danny, back to colorized point cloud. So again, can you describe a little bit about your past life and what you've been doing, and then how it ties in? Danny, back to colorized point cloud.
I can hear you twice now.
Yeah, if you turn off the forum, that's where it's playing from. Past life, been doing, and then how it ties in. Danny, back to colorized point cloud.
I can hear you twice now.
Yeah. If you just close out of the page on the forum, and that'll do it. Been doing, and then how it ties in.
I think it's not coming from me now, is it?
Yeah. Somebody else have a page? Yep, Simone, if you could close out the forum page. Simone, if you could close your forum page. Somebody else have a page? Okay, I put Simone on mute so that we continue to move forward. Simone, I'll take you off mute, but you gotta turn off the page. We're like a radio station, and there's a little bit of a delay, and that's what's causing that feedback. So, Danny, back to that a little bit about what you do and why that XYZ file is interesting to you.
Well, as a background, I studied multimedia design, and I actually create 3D visualizations, animations, and draftings for architectural companies. And I'm using the point cloud file in order to create a basic 3D file that is needed to create the designs, get improvements from the governments you need to put in. They need the draftings for that. So it's the basic for all that work.
So that .xyz file, the colorized point cloud, something very important to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Normally, in the past, I had to go measure a place by hand with a laser scanner, take my measurements, and then create the 3D file myself. Because not a lot of buildings already have the floor plans and sections, everything that you need for the design process. You need to make those. And
then this is color. So can you talk a little bit about a non-color and color point cloud and why that matters for you?
Well, that doesn't really matter, actually. You can either have a point cloud that is colored or one that isn't, but I'm always using a separate screen for the Matterport on the side, so the color doesn't really matter to me.
Okay. I happen to like it because it actually helps me visualize the space, because it adds the dimension to it for me. On the reflective ceiling plan image, the MatterPak bundle is going to include multiple files, if multiple floors, in JPEG, and then all the floors on a PDF. What is a reflective ceiling plan image?
Yeah, you should think of that as a floor plan, but for the ceiling, so it's actually inverted.
And
so
why does that matter?
It's used to create lighting designs for. There's actually companies specialize in creating lighting for buildings, and they can use those to create an actual lighting plan for.
So that's super for some
me,
people,
not, but for some people it can be very useful.
If you're talking to a company that designs discotheques, they care about what the ceiling looks like.
I can imagine so, yes.
Yeah. Okay. High resolution floor plan image, multiple files if multiple floors in JPEG, and then all floors in one single file. So a high resolution floor plan image.
That's just the same thing as that you can download from the actual what's it called, the workplace from Matterport.
The Matterport workshop.
Yeah, that's the one I was looking for. You can actually download a low resolution one. This one is the exact same thing, but a little bit higher resolution.
And why does the higher resolution matter?
I don't know. I'm not using it.
No, you're not using that. And then the last piece, a high resolution object file, a .obj. Matterport says this is the same object file that you could obtain earlier.
Yeah, you can still do it, but like halfway through January, they will remove it, I think. You can still download it right now.
Yeah. So the MatterPak bundle goes into effect on January 25th, 2018. They add in their notes that spaces on or after December 13th, 2017 can be downloaded as a Matterport MatterPak bundle. Spaces created before December 13th will only be able to download the object file. Okay, so that's the MatterPak bundle. Jorge, you saw Matterport, this announcement. Matterport's going to be charging $49 for it. What was your immediate reaction?
Well, I am not a programmer. Basically, I won't use this bundle, but I am concerned about Matterport business model. The sustainability of this business model is what matters to me, because in a way, we are like hostages of Matterport business model. I mean, as long as Matterport exists, we exist as Matterport providers. Our models are there. If Matterport unplugs them, our customers will be very angry. So in a way, we are, as I say, we are hostages. And I don't like the way Matt is going, in the sense of that they are trying to extract as much money from the customer base rather than to expand the customer base. So my main concern is that. So my reaction was, this is not good. This is not fair play. And you know what? I was looking for, I like to research into the origins of words. And you know what? Hosting and hostage have the same root. And you know what the root is? Is a Proto-Indo-European word that means foreign or enemy. So my question is Matterport my enemy because I am hosting with them and they keep me hostage? So this is something that kept me thinking, because, you know, the basic idea in today's technology and today's business world is that the companies should create and add more value without increasing price, because there is competition out there and they need to keep customers with them. Let's take Netflix, for example. When you first subscribed to Netflix, the options were not as many, but with time, they added more and more content, and they never said, listen, you have to pay $1 more because we House of Cards or something like that. And then they added the possibility of downloading the content. And they didn't say, if you want to download the content to use it offline, you will have to pay $2 more. They just said, with the same price, you now can download. And what is that? Because there is competition. The problem is that Matterport has no competition in its league because the quality is so good and the product is so unique so far. Now, the problem is, give it a month, 6 months, a year, 2 years, but eventually a new competitor will arrive. And when that happens, if you have all your models there, you will lose your models. So that's why I'm concerned. I am concerned with this closed system, this keeping out the third-party providers, squeezing the oranges, as I wrote in the forum. I mean, there are 3 oranges in the fridge, and they keep squeezing them rather than getting more oranges. And I feel like an orange, you know. I feel squeezed.
You feel squeezed.
Yeah, and today you wrote about the Google Street View and asked about, are they going to charge? And the answer is yes, they said that. They said that after the beta program, the beta test, they will charge. We don't know how much, but they will start charging as well for that. Is it fair to do that? Well, in a way, yes. But again, it's more and more and more. And I don't see this as a fair business model.
Danny, how about you? Your business is actually completely tied to this commercial package, the .xyz file, the .obj. I don't believe that Matterport had ever said that they were going to charge for the object file. I don't recall if they said they were going to charge for the XYZ file. How did you feel when you read this announcement?
I actually had, before I actually purchased the camera, I informed about that at Matterport because I didn't know what the business model was going to be like, and they couldn't give me a clear answer back then. But the OBJ file is less important to me. However, I do use it for some clients, but the point cloud file is the most important one. Mm-hmm. And I can understand that they want to charge because it needs to be processed, but what I would like to do is process my own data, like in Recap or something like that. It's a program from Autodesk that's used to align scan data from laser scanners. Mm-hmm. And I could assume that you could do the same thing with a Matterport camera if the data was available to you.
I could imagine that the only reason you bought a Matterport camera was for the scanning data.
Yeah, exactly. I really don't care about the photographs that it takes. It's a nice addition, but it's not what I bought it for.
So this was somewhat of a surprise that now something that you've been getting at no charge is now the.
Well, not a surprise. I figured they would charge for it eventually because it was in beta before. Mm-hmm. But I recently did a project and I need to create 4 scans from it, because when you're doing architectural work, sometimes there are people working, you can't always get into an empty space. So I need to create 4 different kind of separate scans, and I aligned them in my ArchiCAD program. So that would cost me 4 times $50, and that's a little bit steep if I were to buy the actual pack for each of those.
So this could have a dramatic impact about how, as a third-party service provider, you offer your services. I think one example, is you offer a Matterport object file conversion to a SketchUp file, a .skp file, and I believe that is at an amazing price point that would now almost double.
Yeah, more than double. So I'm thinking I'm going to scratch that, because I don't think it's worth it in the end for a client to pay that much for a relatively simple thing.
So for anybody that actually needed a SketchUp file, I think sometimes maybe people may think or matter that you could just take an object file and bring it into any CAD program. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but you really need it as a SketchUp file or an XYZ file. The object file is just too big and
you can open it, but it's hard to work with because it's automatically generated. There's something called UVW mapping, which is the process of unfolding a 3D model into a 2D space so that you can put a floor texture on it, for example. And it's really messy because it's automatically generated. So if you want to edit that, that's a very tedious process. That's why I create my own geometry instead.
Yeah, and so that may be one of the services that's at risk is having a Matterport object file, which I think of as data, converted to a SketchUp file, which I think of as something that's actually useful and practical to any CAD programmer that wants to bring it into Revit or SketchUp or any other CAD program.
Well, for that, I choose point cloud instead.
Yeah, but that you can't just buy one of the 4 things. Everything is the package.
That's true.
Is $49. Simone, how about you? In the forum, you're German girl, GRMGRL. Your business, Simone's 3D Tour Galleries in Bloomington, Illinois. What was your initial reaction, and how might this affect your business?
Well, my initial reaction was pretty much with all the issues what we had down the road with Matterport. I wasn't really surprised about it. I wish for better business practice, but like George was saying, you're kind of locked in with having a subscription, having your business model around built around Matterport. So there is not really that many other options out there. However, as I was telling you before we were on, I bought the Iris 360 camera, and they do actually have something which is called Color Cloud. The 1.10, which is completely free to use, is a drag and drop application. I don't work in the moment with a lot of architects, which I don't use that as much. But there are companies out there which have products where you can actually use the services for free when you have their camera. And so my problem with Matterport is that when you buy the camera, they say, well, you have the terms and conditions. And I bet 99 out of 100 people who buy the camera don't really know the implications up to the point when they're in business, they need something, and then they cannot get something what they actually want to do, or they are very limited. So my biggest issue was actually before they had the 360 images available to download. So you buy an expensive camera, you subscribe to the service, $49.99 or $150, I believe, is their price range, which if you start a business, it is costly over the time because you've got to start building up your clientele. And then you feel like, as a photographer, not so much realtors. I think the realtors are the people who can care less about that whole issue because they really just want to scan, put the model out there, and that's it. But as a photographer, you want to do different things with your photography. and you want to be able to get high definition photos, and that plays into with the high definition floor plans. Why do I have to get a not high definition floor plan when I can actually get a high definition floor plan? It is not a matter of them actually having to do more work on their side. It's a service that I subscribe to from the beginning, when I paid $49 and I get my models with that, and then I pay $20 for each additional model. And it's about the right of ownership. And I question since quite some time really the legality of how can somebody say, we own the right and you take the photograph. It's like I'm doing work for somebody I'm not even related with. It's like I'm a slave to whatever they dictate me. If they come up the next time to increase the model price per model, it's like I have to subscribe to that because I have built my business model. And so I feel like it should not be legal to just start charging, no matter if it was a beta or non-beta. If they would say, okay, people who purchase the camera from that up to that point, they will get it for free, and whatever new subscribers do, it would maybe be a different issue. But I feel like people who have subscribed to a service up to a certain point, they cannot be pushed into a complete different business model.
Jorge, what's your reaction to what Simone's saying?
Well, I absolutely agree. I mean, you know, with Matterport, you are always waiting for the ugly phase. I mean, something ugly happens down the road. When I first purchased my Matterport camera in 2015, to be honest, I didn't read the terms of service. My only analysis was, okay, I paid $49, each model costs $19, so if I do 3 models, I save $8, so that's it. So I started working. And so this is not the cost, but if your business doesn't go well, or along the road something happened, or then you have a cost. You have to pay just to keep your models working. And this introduces the risk issue here. I mean, you know, I worked in the banking industry many years, and one thing that I was always concerned was risk. When you buy a machine, you have a risk between the moment you pay and the moment the product arrives to your home. When I bought the Iris 360, the risk was I paid one day, and 2 months later, 3 months later, I received the machine. After that, the risk is zero, because you own the machine, you own the content, and you deal with your customer. Worst case scenario, your machine breaks, and Iris no longer, NCTEDGE no longer is in business, okay, you throw away your machine. But with Matterport, the risk increases as long as you keep working with Matterport.
Let me just interject a little clarification. Simone was talking about the Iris 360 that she bought about a year ago. The manufacturer of that camera is NCTEDGE, and then in that case, you buy a camera and there's a free platform. And I want to say, not only do you have the copyright in your work, you actually have the digital assets that you could use on a completely different platform.
Yes.
Absolutely. I have an Iris 360, and it works very well, and that's the whole idea. I mean, you own the content.
Just for clarification, you're a Matterport service provider and a Google Street View service provider. Your business is PhiSigma Interactive in Buenos Aires. You do other things aside from Matterport and Google Street View, but you're trying to make a business out of the Matterport, and I imagine that you loved it when you bought it, but then some shoes started dropping that gave you angst.
Exactly. I mean, when I saw a model made with Matterport, I fell in love with Matterport, and then the salesman told me that the price in the market was 70 cents per square feet. So it was never true, but I said, wow, this is gold. I mean, 70 cents per square feet. The reality is 10 cents, 8 cents, or whatever. But the problem is that as long as you keep adding more and more models, you have all your customers locked in this cloud, in this hosting service. If tomorrow Matterport goes bankrupt, your risk is huge because there are businesses, there are hotels, shops, real estate that is depending on these models. Maybe if you work only in real estate, the risk is not so huge because probably within a year, the property is sold or leased, so well, it goes away. But if you have sold your service to a hotel, the hotel stays longer. The same applies to museums or college. So, and this is a big problem.
Simone?
Yeah, can I say something to that?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. I thought about that as well, and I do charge my clients a hosting fee. After a year, it's a $50 hosting fee. And I also thought about how I can overcome that issue. And I do create virtual tours with a different kind of software. Since I can get now the 360 images, I do create a virtual tour. Most of the time, I would say 99% when I talk to my clients, they don't even know the difference. The problem is a lot of times, I am so sorry for that. A lot of times, we as photographers, we have our eyes so specified that we know the difference. But if you talk to somebody and you show them the two different models, they are like, so what's the difference? They don't know the difference. So I do create virtual tours with the software. It's 360 tours versus the Matterport tours. And I give actually my clients the option to just have the Google tour on their website if they choose not to pay the hosting fee. So it's, in my opinion, it's all about listen to what your clients want. I do actually always hope that somebody, let's say I do a car dealership and they have new models of cars, they would benefit from actually getting a new virtual tour of their showroom. And so with that, I do offer that there is no hosting fee because I'm going to do a new virtual tour. Okay. However, I ran into that the smaller businesses, they want to just, or something where it doesn't change. I have a bread place where I did a virtual tour, it doesn't change. So I'm just going to give them the Google tour link where they have the arrows to click. I can put actually a rotation of the sphericals in, and pretty much people don't know the difference. It's us that we know the difference, really.
Yeah.
Let me see. Matterport's not on the call today. Be nice if they would join us. Invitation. Always feel free to join us, Matterport. But so let me say, let's just take a moment. Let's assume I'm Matterport. We have some innovation. Why shouldn't we make some more money with it? Danny, let me ask you that question, because you bought the camera because of the data that the camera captured. That was the magic for you. The imagery was all just kind of a bonus for what you do. So why shouldn't Matterport be able to charge more in order to keep innovating in this AEC space, architects, engineers, and construction, designed exactly for a person like you?
Well, like I put in the forum, when was it, yesterday or the day before yesterday? Matterport is a real estate company first, and architecture is like sort of a side product. So like I mentioned, I'm always looking for new innovations. So as soon as something else shows up with probably laser scanner or something like that, that's more affordable, I'm going to go that way. So
yeah.
So in your mind, there'll be a tool for your specific needs, and all it needs to do is capture.
As long as I can create my own point cloud files with Autodesk, then I'm good. Mm-hmm. So and I know that there are new products coming out, and I've already checked out the data, which looks very promising. I just don't know what they're going to cost yet and when they're going to come out, but I have high hopes for the future. So.
Mm-hmm. So as the technology progresses, in your case, you need scanning data, the .xyz file, if Matterport is going to charge you a la carte, you're going to be looking for a solution that it's perhaps a flat fee or some other package.
Yeah, but to be fair, I was always gonna look elsewhere because, well, I'm always looking for new things. But this does motivate a little bit extra to look further. Yeah.
Yeah, a little motivation, kicking the tush to see what other opportunities are there. Jorge, I want to say that you teach marketing. Is that correct at the university level?
No, I teach business strategy, in fact, not marketing.
Business strategy.
That's why I am expert in business models and business model innovation. So that's so angry about Matterport.
Yeah, I always love reading your commentary because it is just like, wow, this is really cool. This is like, you know, someone that understands business strategy, you know, but, you know, like, oh, I love my child, but no, my child's doing some things I'm not happy about. And
exactly.
You feel very strongly about it. In fact, I think on this topic of MatterPak, you've been writing about that Matterport has a third-party allergy. What do you mean by that?
What I meant is that, you know, there were different providers over time that offered us to, you know, to get the square meters of our models and extracting the panels in order to create our own, you know, tools, etc. And they were either co-opted or shut down, but they were pushed out of our ecosystem.
I think an example you're talking about is Metroplex 360 created a tool that was free for We Get Around Network Forum members that enabled to make it easy, fast, and simple to get square footage of a Matterport space within seconds. And I think many of us in the forum actually did side-by-side comparisons, some who used actual scanner measurers to say, I just want to double check how accurate is the MP2, let's see, MP2SQFT, I think maybe it was.
Exactly,
and then
that was the name.
And we all loved it. We absolutely loved it. I think that was frankly a turning point for me, was that, you know, I love Matterport. I love Matterport. I love Matterport. All of a sudden this third-party tool comes out and I go, wow, now I actually have a way to do my billing if a client is not publishing the square footage in an MLS listing, which we would go by. If the client says it's this much and they put that out publicly, we'll use that, whether it's higher or lower than what we got. But if I don't have an alternative, and I was like, gosh, I think there's this breath of fresh air from everyone in the forum. Go, wow, a free tool that
exactly. And we all love Chris because of that. I mean, Chris is very creative, is a wonderful guy, and he invented a lot of things. But he was, I mean, invited by Matterport to join in a way. So that's fine, and it's okay. But we don't. I mean, where is the tool that help us to have our surface, the square meter of our models, and the same to other things. So the problem is we don't own anything. We don't get a lot of things that we need. And when Matterport sees something that probably serves certain purpose, they try to offer in exchange for a price. Now, this is, I mean, it's valid. They deserve to earn money, but again, I think that what they should be focused on is in adding value, not adding price.
From a business strategy standpoint, would it have made any sense to grandfather in the existing customers to say, "Hey, you were early with us. We're gonna protect you"?
Well, yes. I mean, if there is one thing that they are not doing is creating fans. You know the difference between the client and the fan. You know, the fanatic loves you and forgives you sometimes, but the customer just chooses you because there is no other else, and they are making fans. And you know, at what time I had an argument with the vice president of marketing or something, and I asked her to resign, you know, because she was doing such a bad job. And she answered me. I mean, she wrote to me, and she explained me that they were developing this kind of strategy, like Intel Inside thing, where Matterport would be in the middle of everything, etc. And I said to her, I mean, listen, this makes no sense. I mean, Matterport is not Intel. Matterport is a different thing, and you are not doing things right in order to become neither the standard nor the preferred brand for everybody, because we don't feel comfortable with Matterport. Matterport is nice, it's good. I mean, the product, the transitions, the images, etc. But you know that they will betray you at some point. It has happened. It has happened before, and I don't feel the trust that I feel with other providers.
So let me ask a different business strategy question. So Matterport has 3 tiers: $50 a month, $100 a month, $150 a month. Should they have simply made this solution that you had to be in the $150 a month packet service, rather than charging every time you download a pack?
Probably. I mean, the main problem is that you can charge for something that you offered first for free. I know it wasn't beta, the object file, etc., the point cloud. That's okay, it's valid, but it should be a limited beta. Once you offer the beta for everybody, it's a free service. And going from free to pay is a mistake. It's the same with VR. With VR, fortunately, they didn't do anything. They just kept it free, But at some point,
I think at least they told us, we're going to charge for this, and good or bad at least, because I've never. I bought a Matterport camera in July of 2014. I think I've read, whatever we're up to, 40,000 posts and 6,000 topics. I don't think I have ever seen any mention of Matterport is going to charge for an object file.
No, exactly.
But I think if I'm Matterport, maybe my takeaway here is, if I think I'm going to charge for something in the future that I'm beta testing, I might want to tell people that I'm going to do that, which is exactly what they did when they announced the Google Street View beta. The ability to publish from Matterport to Google Street View, even in a newsletter that we all got this week. Matterport said, when it comes out of beta, we're going to charge something. They didn't say what it was or how they were going to charge, but at least they manage our expectations to expect. Now, I think the interesting thing, Simone, you published to Google Street View. Jorge, you published to Google Street View. I think we would all agree that the ability of being able to shoot once and publish twice, to publish a Matterport space, to put it on a website and publish to Google Street View, adds huge value to the Matterport ecosystem. But I think we're surprised that you just don't get that as part of the package. Because Simone, I'm gonna go to you in a moment. But me personally, I would say, if you enable, like you make this camera so much more valuable, that they would sell more cameras, increase the number of monthly recurring revenue clients, increase satisfaction. Jorge, I don't know if they'll ever get to the point of creating raving fans, but at least it'd be in the right direction.
Exactly.
Of having us all feel good about the investment that we made, knowing, wow, so excited. I bought it to be able to publish to these Matterport Spaces 3D tours, and now Matterport has enabled the ability to publish to Google Street View. I'm a happy camper. I want to tell everyone that I'm a happy camper, and you should buy a camera and you should subscribe, except if you're in Buenos Aires, because there's no business there, and except if you're in Bloomington, Illinois, that you shouldn't buy a Matterport camera there because there's nobody who's interested in that, or in the Netherlands, because no one would be interested in that. We don't want to create competition for Simone, Jorge, and for Danny. But so Simone, what was your expectation? I know we're a little bit off topic on this MatterPak thing, but what was your expectations, for Matterport publishing to Google Street View? Are you okay that they're going to charge something rather than bundling that into the $49 or $100 a month or $150 a month?
For me, it's more the question who owns the content, because I get hired by businesses. Sometimes I give them the ownership of the images. Most of the time, I do have my own ownership, and I just post it with my name on their Google profile. So that's one of the big questions. I definitely do not want Matterport's name on it, because it's, first of all, I do the work, my client pays for me. If anybody has the right to those images, is my client, not Matterport. So that's my big question there. Who owns the right to the images? Does anybody know that?
And if I may, I mean, when you work with Google Street View, you know that once you publish, the images belong to. I mean, Google has the right to use them as they want, but the branding issue is important. We don't know if Matterport name is going to be there in a way. I mean, I don't want the Matterport name in my tours. Absolutely.
Yeah, Jorge, when those tours get published, if they don't say PhiSigma Interactive LLC, I imagine you're going to have a heart attack. And
absolutely.
And Simone, if Matterport publishes the images and they don't say Simone's 3D tour galleries, I imagine you're going to have a heart attack. And I think that would be, I hope, I can't imagine that Matterport's going to get this wrong. I just hope that they're not going to.
Hope.
I hope, but I think, you know, there may be only 4 of us on this call today, but I think the 10,000 visitors to the We Get Around Network Forum monthly, you know, would just have this uproar to say, how could you possibly put Matterport as the source of the images? It's Simone, it's Jorge, it's Dan in Atlanta, and that would probably be the last straw. So I have to think that they're sensitive to that. That it's important to push out that the photographer, and to give them credit, so that when someone sees a tour with my name or your name, that they go, oh, I would like that done for my business. Not, oh, I'm going to call Matterport. I'm going to figure out what that is so I can get them to make one of those things for me.
I also want to say something to the fact about how to gain clients. So it was always for me a mystery why a camera company want to only, and that was at the beginning the case, publish for real estate. It's like when I only want to do one specific client, if I only want to do hotels, and I don't even look at the option to do gas stations, restaurants, and whatever, and photograph them. So it blows my mind how a company so modern can bring such a good product on the table, and at the beginning only markets to real estate, and then wonders why they don't sell any cameras. Most and for all is like, they shouldn't have market to real estate, they should have market to photographers who do the real estate photos, because literally, if you have a busy realtor, they don't take the time to do a virtual tour, which takes 2 hours to do, or 1 hour to do, and it was like 90 minutes. I never have done a tour with a 2,000 square foot house for in like less than that. So that was kind of like, why would a company purposely limit themselves and then put the cost of that they cannot gain clients into to their already existing clients? They could have gotten such a huge start in the business with their product if they would have right away offered that to all kinds of photographers, Google Street View photographer, all kinds of photographers. They would have sold 10 times more cameras than just to real estate photographers.
So Jorge, is Simone a raving fan for Matterport?
Absolutely not. I mean, what she says is absolutely true. I mean, everything from my perspective, everything in Matterport business strategy is wrong. I mean, technology is okay, technology is good, but sometimes, you know, and I am an engineer myself, but, you know, when you put a company in the hands of engineers, you face a huge risk if these engineers don't understand strategy and they don't understand business. They never try to understand who the customer is. I mean, who the customer is, who is the MSP. I mean, what are we? They try to sell cameras to our customers. They try to betray us in every possible way. You know, they sell you at a price and then they drop the price $900 and so on and on and on. So,
Jorge, I imagine when you bought the camera, your expectation was to be a raving fan for Matterport, and
oh yes,
someplace
yes.
along the way that changed. And Simone, I imagine when you bought the camera, and you're a German girl who's let's see, GRL in the forum. You're probably, just like the rest of us, super geeky, love the latest technology, saw Matterport, we're endeared by it, how to have it. And someplace along the way, Matterport, you're just no longer a fan. Anyway, I think what we should probably do is, I know we could probably talk for hours on this off topic, but is to maybe wrap it up and maybe go back to each of you, maybe for 3 points. If you could focus on MatterPak, that would be great. If you want to use your 3 points to riff on something else, and then I'll have the last word and take it from there. Simone, your 3 points. Matterport is watching. This is their little mini focus group. They know you bought the camera 2 years ago. You're a Matterport service provider. You're a Google Street View provider. Simone's 3D tour galleries in Bloomington, Illinois. What would you like to tell Matterport about MatterPak?
Yeah, I think it's great, the innovation and getting a better, more precise product lineup. But I think Matterport Carte trusts that they will be able to gain clients by their superiority, by their outstanding delivery of new products versus nickel and diming their existing customers.
Jorge?
1 point.
Well, I know she has 2 points.
You got two more points for us, Simone?
In a moment, sorry.
Okay, Jorge?
Okay. Well, I would ask a question. Why a bundle? I mean, why don't have a separate price for different kind of files? Because so in the case of Danny, he could get just the point cloud file at a lower cost.
$49.
No, well, but my question is, why don't you have a separate price besides the bundle? Because sometimes you don't need the other things. I mean, you just need one. So this is one question. Second point is, don't keep squeezing the oranges. I mean, we are tired of being squeezed, and besides that, we don't own the juice.
I think you wrote about it in the forum also about milking the cow. So
milking the cow or orange,
cows and squeezing
milk or oranges is the same thing. I mean, we are being milked or squeezed.
Yeah.
But we don't own it, neither the milk nor the orange juice.
So channel that energy. What would you like to say? The VP of marketing is watching right now. What do you want to say to her?
I mean, go back to business school and learn how to. No, what I would say is look into your customers, ask them what they really need. Don't ask silly questions in silly surveys, and go to the core. I mean, what we are asking for Matterport to do for us, and we need a sustainable business model where we can prosper and Matterport can prosper as well. In this way, they are just getting money in the short term. They are not being sustainable in the long term, and we are being squeezed, and we are not getting more businesses. So I think that they need to rethink the whole package.
Terrific. Simone, you ready for 2 more?
No,
move on to Danny.
Go with Danny.
Danny?
Danny hasn't talked for a while.
Well, that's because I'm not a photographer, so I was out of my comfort zone.
But MatterPak directly affects you. Danny Basten, he's written fantastic posts in the We Get Around Network forum on using the data that Matterport generates. I think many of us probably didn't even realize what what fantastic things can be done with the data that the Matterport camera captures. Danny, based in the Netherlands, his company InventiveCG does all kinds of interesting, innovative solutions. Danny, this affects you more than it does the others on the roundtable here. So you're sitting across from the VP of marketing. What would you like to say?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, my highest priority on the wish list would be to be able to process the data myself, the raw capture data. So that's actually the most important thing to me. I don't really have to, but yeah. Well, like I mentioned earlier,
you could say it 3 times. That'll be your 3 points.
Okay, but like I mentioned earlier, if you're in architecture and you need to scan a place, it's different than in real estate, because, well, sometimes you can't move along because someone's placing tiles or something like that, and I need to separate my project into different files, and it's going to be expensive if I'm going to have 5 or 6 processing fees. And then on top of the $20 that it's cost to create the tour, I'm actually going to have to pay $50 as well for each one. Can get quite expensive for some projects.
Yeah, and I think to Jorge's point earlier, the ecosystem would grow exponentially if third-party service providers like Danny with InventiveCG could take advantage of the full capability of the platform.
Yeah, and exactly, like, I don't know who posted it, but someone mentioned Tossalini's work as well, and he does a lot of cool stuff with the OBJ files. I'm not sure who posted it. Was it you?
Yeah. I think any of us could post that, because we're always excited when Paolo Tossalini posts in the We Get Around Network forum some innovative use of showing off the research and development of what's possible in terms of mashing up Matterport or Matterport data along with other technology such as HoloLens and whatever other exciting and crazy things he comes up with.
Yeah, and somebody posted about it that those innovations are going to go away because now he has to pay for it. So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, Simone, you got 2 points for us?
I do get one. Historically, looking at what kind of businesses have failed is closed businesses who didn't open themselves up to other developers. And so I hope that Matterport doesn't continue to let the possibilities that would open up with letting third-party developers into that platform, from being a good platform to a great platform. In the future, I would like to see that happen. It could take Matterport to a whole nother level.
Yeah, even Simone, I think many products and services have embraced not only have they embraced the third-party service provider community, they've paid them. They didn't charge them; they paid them to say, "Wow, you're doing way cool things. What you do is so exciting. We want to give you cash to keep encouraging you to do it, not to say, Danny, we're going to charge you $49, whether you need the whole pack or you just need the XYZ file or the unprocessed." So here are my 3 points. The first, and I'm going to think about that the VP of marketing or the SVP, general manager of Matterport, or the president is watching our show. I know they read the forum. They're fans. You can almost see how quickly sometimes they react to same things that get posted today and respond to it. So here are my 3 points. First, Jorge mentioned how important it is to create raving fans. I think if you watch the last hour or so of the program, you sense that there were maybe 4 of us, certainly 3 of us, or 4 of us that started out as raving fans, and maybe 3 of us are not quite so raving fan. So I think you could turn that around immediately by saying we're going to grandfather in every Matterport service provider as of Thursday, January 11th, 2018, or you're making your announcement on 2 weeks from today, where you're implementing MatterPak, that you grandfather in and say, we are going to embrace all the early adopters in our community, and as our thank you, we're not going to charge you, or we're going to give you X number of packs a month to say we're going to give you 10 or 20 or 25 if you have to cap it, but we're going to do something special for our early adopters because we want to convert you to raving fans. So that's the first thing I would suggest. The second is I think you really need kind of a Matterport. You need kind of a freemium model on this. And the way I would describe that is I would create one more tier. And so right now you have a package for $49 a month, $99 a month, $100 and $149 a month. I would suggest that those in the community that are really interested in the data and to say, okay, you're in the AEC space and this pack was really designed for you. It wasn't designed for the $49, $99, and $149 a month member. So let's go create the AEC pack and you go figure out how you charge just for that persona, just for that customer. Now, it's not to say that there aren't some of us that would like to have the data. So let's go ahead and say that maybe if you're a $49 a month customer, you're going to get 5 free packs a month. And maybe if you're a $99 customer a month, you're going to get 10 free packs. And if you're $149, you're going to get 15 packs a month. Now, you could go reduce the numbers or make those numbers more, but enable members at different tiers in order to be able to sample the pack to understand the value of it. And then when we create a business around the pack, then we either can choose to pay a la carte for additional packs, or we're going to move to the AEC pricing tier, which is really where we all belong. So if Danny is building a business around this and you come back and say, Danny, forgive me, Danny, for speaking for you, that you're not going to pay $149 a month, we're going to charge you, $249 or $499 or $1,000, but there's some migration path that logically makes sense for the AEC space. And I think what's happened is that Matterport is trying to be a service provider, a seller to photographers, the real estate agents, the people in the AEC space. And it's hard to price across those 3 channels. But if you think about having created a 4th bucket specifically designed for AEC to say, okay, those people, they may only create one model and that model may be 100,000 square feet, but they are constantly, rescanning the space because they're doing progress on the building and they want to see how the point cloud compares to the BIM model, the as-built, whatever, and they're watching for iterations. You got to charge that person differently. And maybe that's even worth more to you than $49 a month, $49 a download. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, Matterport, think about monthly recurring revenue. Don't think about one-time nickel and diming us, and move people to the right tier. Give us in each of our tiers an appropriate amount of no charge, and then move us to the tier that we actually belong on. If we have a need for more than 10 or 15 of this a month, then we really probably do belong in an AEC architects, engineers, and construction pricing tier. My third point, and I think that's obvious to anyone that's been reading the We Get Around Network Forum, is we all feel like we're like, Jorge, what was the word you used opposite of a fan? We're a client.
Client, yes.
A client or a customer.
Either you're a client or you're a fan.
You're either a client or a fan. I love that. I absolutely love that. And I think the only way that you're ever going to, Matterport, the only way you're going to ever get to the raving fan status is to find some of us that are disgruntled. We started out, being raving fans the day we bought the camera. And really, I think the turning point was like when MP2 SQFP Plus got disabled and a third-party service provider tool was no longer, allowed. That was really the starting point on this. So I think you need to take some of us who may be a little bit disgruntled and invite them to San Francisco and have them, maybe there's a different person every week or whatever, but sit at the conference room table while you all are making decisions and just have your client, your customer, your fan represented at the table. I think that the analogy here might, Jorge, this is probably something you studied at length, was, Blockbuster. I think Blockbuster was probably so insular that the business model was always going to be, we're going to have a store that people are going to come in and physically pick up a DVD and go home with it. That if they were paying any attention to their customers, might have come up with a different conclusion.
Yeah, it's true.
So I think that's probably the, probably my third point is, please don't take us as, we're just problem children. We want to be, in love with our parents. Just like have us at the table and participate in the discussion so that you can hear our angst firsthand. And I think the first two solutions probably would have solved that. And then, so those are my 3 points. I'm going to add a fourth because I know we're just weeks away from Matterport probably enabling Google Street View to exit out of public beta and then charge for it. And in Matterport, you got to get two things right on this. One is our name, not your name, needs to be on the published on the name on the Google Street View tour. If you put your name on it, you'll just like drive everybody bazonkers. We'll do an entire show on that. And then I think the second thing is you have to rethink charging a la carte, because when you charge us a la carte for something, let's just say even for MatterPak and say it's $49, our customers are sophisticated enough to Google Matterport and figure out that you're charging us as service providers $49. And so their conclusion is, well, if you're charging me $500 or $1,000, I don't understand. That only cost you $49. So you've got to take all this stuff that you're trying to charge us a la carte and move us into the right tier, the right bundle. You may even have to come out with plus bundles, a basic bundle, a professional bundle, a business bundle that's a plus that bundles in the stuff. But you're about to release, Google Street View. It doubles, triples, quadruples the value of the camera, the value of the ecosystem. Bundle that is free as part of what we are already paying, and let us be much more prolific and moving us from the $49 plan to the $99 plan, from the $99 plan to the $149 plan, and then beyond, and then make more money on your processing that we're doing. But don't even think about charging for Google Street View. Now, I know Chris Hickman, Metroplex 360, we've brought up your name a number of times, Chris. We were just wrapping the show, but I feel like I'd just be remiss if I didn't give you an opportunity to say a few words on MatterPak, and then we'll take off.
All right. Well, I'm sorry I just joined. What have y'all been talking about?
We've been talking about you, a third-party service provider doing innovative and magical things with the data that's been possible, and now Matterport is announced that it's going to charge $49 for this data. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? How do you feel about that?
I think that we haven't heard the last word.
Meaning?
I think that they'll announce some other options.
Meaning?
I think they'll unbundle the OBJ file.
Okay. So that we all could continue to get what has been free, continue to be free.
I don't think it's going to be free.
Yeah, it's okay. All right. So I don't want to keep. I know we have had everybody on the show for about an hour. Chris, I know we didn't get a chance to talk, but to fairness to the rest of the guests on the roundtable,
Yeah.
I just wanted to go down the list. Simone, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
It's Simone Williams, Simone's 3D Tour Galleries in Bloomington, Illinois. In the forum, she is German Girl. That is spelled GRMGRL. Jorge, thank you so much for joining us today from Buenos Aires.
Thank you, Dan. And let me say that what I said before, we all love Chris because he's he's a genius, and we really enjoyed all what he has done for the Matterport community so far. So thank you for everything, Chris.
Thank you. And then that's Jorge Fontin. He is a Matterport service provider and Google Street View photographer, PhiSigma Interactive LLC in Buenos Aires. Danny, again, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you as well. Nice to meet you all.
Yes. So that's Danny Bastien. He is the founder of InventiveCG based in the Netherlands. Has been writing some fantastic posts in the We Get Around Network forum about the magical use of the data and showing us what's possible, and is now building a business out of that, though coming today from Spain. And Chris, a little bit late, but thank you for popping in.
I hope that something good comes out of this, because just keep on waiting. I think Matterport hears us.
Good. So this is Chris Hickman. He is Metroplex 360. He's the founder of Metroplex 360 in Dallas. If you've been part of the We Get Around Network Forum community for some time, you will have seen his Matter apps solutions that we have been able to provide free to We Get Around Network Forum members. And unfortunately, I think one by one, Matterport put the kibosh on the tools like MP2SQFP, MP2SQFP Plus that made it easy, fast, and simple to know the square footage, and then some other tools, and then even I think asked you to stop doing the Matterport to Google Street View conversions and publishing that you were doing. Gee, I want to say for well over a year. Would have been a great thing for Matterport to say, we know you're violating our terms of service, but you're providing a service to the ecosystem. So we're happy for you to continue to do that until we eventually enable that. And unfortunately, that hasn't happened. So anyway, Chris, I think everyone on the panel today has commented about all the posts that you do in the forum and all the tools and solutions that you've created and created magic. And so you didn't get to hear your accolades as your fans. Actually, Jorge,
yes, I am a fan. I am a fan.
I'm a fan. We are all raving fans of Chris Hickman, Metroplex 360. So anyway, thank you all for joining the We Get Around WGAN-TV Roundtable on Matterport MatterPaks. And thank you all for tuning in. If you missed any portion of the program, we've been recording it today. And by tomorrow, Friday, January 12th, 2018, we'll publish that in the forum. So if you missed anything, you'll have a chance to catch it. So thank you all for joining. I know it's late for you, Danny, and in Europe. And Simone, good to see you, Danny, Jorge, and Chris.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.